Millionaire accused of killing his daughter, but only one woman believed him. "Everyone might think you're guilty, Terry," she told him softly, sitting across from him in the cold, gray holding cell. "But I know you. And I'm not leaving your side." Terry looked up at her, his eyes bloodshot. "Why, Elena? Why are you doing this?" Her voice cracked. "Because I believe you. And because you once saved me, it's my turn now." Terry Westwood had the kind of life people envied, on paper. He stood tall in his Italian-cut suit, the morning sun reflecting off the glass walls of his penthouse office that overlooked the entire city's skyline. At 53, Terry was a self-made millionaire, the CEO of a thriving tech company, and a man every tabloid had on speed dial. His face often graced the cover of glossy business magazines, sometimes alongside his fiancée, Fina Valles, a leggy, breathtaking supermodel with a smile that could melt steel. But beneath the glitz, behind the charm and power, was a man barely holding on. Terry had a 16-year-old daughter, Ariel. She was his entire world. The memory of her birth still clung to him, the way she gripped his finger in that cold hospital room, how her mother, Lydia, had smiled weakly at him, exhausted but glowing. Lydia had been the love of his life. An heiress to an old money family with power, prestige, and pedigree. He was just a clerk then, working long hours in her father's law firm, barely noticed by most. But Lydia saw him. She saw past his cheap shoes and humble beginnings. She saw his hunger, his drive, and more importantly, his heart. Their love wasn't welcome. But it didn't matter. They eloped. Against all odds, they built a life together. Then Ariel came. Everything was perfect, for a while. But tragedy doesn't ask for permission. Lydia was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia. Within 2 years, she was gone, leaving behind a will that named Terry as the sole beneficiary of her estate and the guardian of their daughter. The whispers began almost immediately. A gold digger. A nobody who got lucky. But Terry didn't care. He had Ariel. Except now, he was losing her too. "Dad, I'm not going to pretend I like her." Ariel snapped, her hands clenched into fists. She stood at the edge of the grand staircase in their mansion, her voice echoing off the marble walls. Terry sighed, resting one hand on the railing. "She's not trying to replace your mom, sweetheart. I need companionship too." Ariel scoffed. "She's a shallow leech, Dad. Can't you see that? She doesn't love you. She loves your money. Just like everyone else." Fina emerged from the hallway behind them, her expression tight. "You know I can hear you, right?" Ariel's eyes flashed. "Good. I wanted you to." Terry closed his eyes. His chest ached, not from anger, but from helplessness. He could lead boardrooms of 100 men, close billion-dollar deals in a handshake, but when it came to his daughter, he had no idea what to do anymore. That night, the silence in the mansion was louder than thunder. And then, the unthinkable happened. Ariel was found dead. Her lifeless body in the guest house. No sign of forced entry. No suicide note. No explanation. And somehow, every finger pointed to him. Mr. Westwood, the lead detective had said coldly, as Terry sat in the interrogation room, his eyes hollow. "You were the last person seen with her. Your fingerprints were on the door handle. And we found no one else on the property." Terry didn't speak. His throat was dry, his mind blank. How could he even begin to explain? How do you defend yourself when your world has just ended? The media had a field day. Mogul murders daughter after family feud? The fall of Terry Westwood, lover, father. Killer? Only one woman stood between him and the roaring wolves, Elena Hart. His lawyer. But she wasn't just a lawyer. She was more. Much more. Everyone might think you're guilty, Terry, she told him softly, sitting across from him in the cold, gray holding cell. But I know you. And I'm not leaving your side. Terry looked up at her, his eyes bloodshot. Why, Elena? Why are you doing this? Her voice cracked. Because I believe you. And because you once saved me, it's my turn now. Terry came home early that Friday evening. It had been one of those rare days when he cleared his schedule, sent the house staff off, and decided to just be dad. The sun was setting in gold across the gated estate, casting long shadows across the marble floors as he walked in, humming faintly, holding a bag of Ariel's favorite pastries. Ariel, he called, walking into the hallway. I got those strawberry tarts from Lavigne Rose, the ones you. He stopped. Something was wrong. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, thick, like the air itself was trying to keep him from breathing. He stepped further inside, past the main living room. That's when he saw it. There, in the middle of the guest lounge, lay Ariel, her body sprawled across the cream rug, a deep crimson pool spreading beneath her head. Terry froze. The bag dropped from his hand. The tarts spilled across the floor. No. No, 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 he choked, stumbling forward. Ariel! He dropped to his knees, grabbing her cold hand. Blood stained his shirt, but he didn't care. He tried to shake her gently, as if she might wake up. Baby, please, oh God, no, not like this. His hands trembled as he reached to cradle her, but something sharp pricked his arm. A lampstand. The heavy brass one from the corner of the room, it was lying beside her, smeared in blood. He pushed it away instinctively. The horror of it all, too much to take in. And then, he saw something else. Clutched in Ariel's lifeless fingers was a colorful hair packer, bright purple and yellow. Not her style. Not her. His daughter would never wear something like that. She was all black and silver, soft pastels at most. But in that moment, it didn't register. He was too deep in shock to think. He just stared at the gaudy scrunchie, tears falling onto her pale skin. Suddenly, footsteps. He heard hurried heels clacking against the tiles. Terry? Fina's voice rang out as she burst in, her dress barely covering her thighs, her hair in a rush of curls. She gasped when she saw the scene. Oh my God! What the hell happened? She didn't step closer. She didn't kneel. She just stared. Eyes wide. Then darting. Fina, Terry croaked. She's gone. I don't know what happened. I just got here. She backed away slightly, her voice shaky. Terry, this looks bad, did you? No, he snapped, too fast. Too loud. Don't even think that. I didn't. It was too late. He called the police. By the time they arrived, Terry was still on the floor, soaked in his daughter's blood, trembling. And Fina? Fina was standing in the hallway, hands folded tightly, makeup smudged, mascara running. The colorful hair packer was missing from Ariel's hand. Terry didn't even notice until hours later. She said she'd only just arrived. She said she found them like that. But when forensics found traces of blood on her dress and the scrunchie tucked in her purse, Fina was arrested on the spot. Ms. Valles, you're under arrest for the suspected murder of Ariel Westwood. You have the right to remain silent. In the chaos, Terry's world cracked open, but the questions, they had just begun. And not everything about Fina's arrest added up. Not even close. The next morning, Terry Westwood's face was plastered across every major news outlet. CNN, TMZ, Daily Mail. Even the tabloids that once celebrated his every move now smeared his name in bold, ruthless headlines. From tycoon to killer? Terry Westwood under investigation for daughter's murder. Heir to a tragedy, did Westwood murder Ariel for her fortune? Greed. Blood. Betrayal. Inside the Westwood scandal. The court of public opinion had made up its mind, and it was merciless. People whispered in elevators. Former colleagues deleted his number. Sponsors pulled out. Brand deals were frozen. The stock price of his company nosedived within hours. Social media? Worse. Of course he did it. Men like him always want more. She hated his girlfriend. He wanted her out of the way. It's obvious. Poor girl. Murdered by the one person who was supposed to protect her. The narrative was airtight. He was greedy. He was heartless. And now that Ariel was gone, he had no obstacles left between him and Lydia's wealth. The cops didn't say much, officially, but everyone knew where the investigation was leaning. Even Fina, despite the damning scrunchie in her bag, managed to flip the script. From her holding cell, she played the victim. "I love that child like my own," she cried into the cameras. Terry, he changed after Lydia died. He drank more. Got colder. I told people, but no one listened. I was afraid of him. And just like that, she was bailed out within 72 hours. Terry, meanwhile, was left to rot in a cell, not as a suspect officially, but as the shadow everyone was now too afraid to ignore. Then came Kisha. She wasn't just his lawyer. She had known Terry back when he worked as Lydia's assistant. She was a sharp, idealistic black woman fresh out of law school, barely taken seriously in the firm until Terry vouched for her. She never forgot that. And now, she was the only one who hadn't turned her back on him. "I believe you," she told him quietly across the cracked glass of the visitation booth. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't blink. "Even if the whole damn world doesn't. I know you, Terry. And I know you loved that girl." His hands trembled on the table. "I don't know how to fight this, Kisha. Everything points to me." She leaned in, her tone hardening. "Then we fight the only way I know how. With truth." She turned to leave but paused. "You said there was a hair tie in Ariel's hand?" "Yeah, colorful. Not hers." "I didn't think it mattered." Kisha's brows furrowed. "It does." That was the first thread. And Kisha Hart wasn't about to let it slip through her fingers. She didn't wait for the system to do its job. She began her own investigation, quietly, methodically. She went back to the crime scene. She looked through surveillance footage the cops hadn't requested. She pulled private security feeds. Interviewed the house staff off the record. And what she started to uncover would soon change everything. Kisha stared at the surveillance monitor, heart pounding. There she was. Fina Valles. Striding into the Westwood mansion that afternoon, before Terry had arrived. The outdoor security camera, sloppily overlooked by the police, captured her perfectly. She wore oversized designer sunglasses, a silk blouse barely buttoned, and tied up in her hair was a vivid purple and yellow packer, the very one Ariel had clutched in her lifeless hand. Kisha's throat tightened. There was no mistaking it. No possible explanation. Fina had been at the house. She had lied. Lied about when she arrived. Lied about what she saw. And if the footage was right, she had left the house minutes before Terry entered, long enough to clean herself up, ditch the scrunchie, and circle back, pretending to be shocked. Oh my God, Kisha whispered to herself. She planned this. She leaned closer, watching the timeline carefully. 3:46 p.m., Fina enters through the back gate. 4:08 p.m., Fina rushes out, hair now down, visibly distressed. 4:14 p.m., Terry pulls up the driveway. And somewhere in between, Ariel died. But even in death, Ariel had fought for justice. She had grabbed the only piece of her killer that she could, a single, bright-colored hair packer, and held it with the strength of love, rage, and defiance. She left us a message, Kisha murmured, her voice breaking. She made sure we know. Kisha didn't waste time. She filed a motion to submit the new evidence. She pushed for a formal investigation into Fina's false testimony. It was a war against public narrative, against legal inertia, and against her own grief. But she wouldn't stop. And Terry? He was a shell. He sat in the cold confines of his house, now too quiet, too dark. The once warm halls filled with memories he could no longer bear to walk through. The strawberry tarts still sat in the fridge. Untouched. Rotting slowly. I failed her, he whispered one night, as Kisha sat quietly on the opposite couch, stacks of documents between them. You didn't, she replied softly. You loved her. You protected her. And she protected you, even in her last breath. His eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I've lost everything, Kisha. She looked up at him, her voice stronger now. Not everything. He turned toward her slowly. You still have the truth. And you still have me. I'm not going anywhere. She wasn't just his lawyer now. She was his lifeline. His friend. And the last person in the world still fighting for him like family.